This is the late 1940s Truetone radio. I've got almost all of the repair work completed. And this was one of the more complex restoration jobs I've had to do. This had a lot of problems with it. First of all, we had to restring the dial cord. So I got the Dremel tool and ground off all the corrosion off the tuning shaft and figured out how to restring the dial cord. And then we have bad capacitors in the IF cans, so we put in all new caps. See these little black caps here, and I've got power applied to it, so I'm not going to reach my hand in there. But these little black caps substituted for the mica. Those are actually new silver mica caps. 22 PF for the FM and 100 PF for the AM. And we replaced all the old paper caps and replaced the electrolytics. And a really weird thing was that this resistor here, which is in the power supply, someone had replaced it with a 6,000 ohm, but it really is an 820. Let's see if we can see it here. It really needs to be 820 ohms. And thanks to the power of the World Wide Web, let's see if I can see it here. I was able to look at this radio, which is mine, which is the exact same chassis. I think it's a Wells Gardner, except this one's a Montgomery Ward's Airline. And so I was able to get a model number off of that one and look it up in here. The model number is 94WG1811A. That WG leads me to think it's a Wells Gardner. But see, I was able to see here that this resistor is 820 ohms in the power supply. And it just, I guess it shouldn't amaze me anymore, but any one of these that's had a repair job on, I think that the really competent repair people may have been very few and far between. I don't know. I mean, there's so many of them that might be an unfair conclusion to jump to. But when I've seen repair work on these things, it's often bad soldering jobs, wrong components, stuff just not done right, and I wish more of them would have been done better. But unfortunately, if you work on old radios, you're liable to find just crummy repair jobs and wrong components and all kinds of stuff. So you just have to expect the unexpected when it comes to troubleshooting, and not assume anything is the way it should be. And the schematic can be a real big help toward making sure that all the right parts are installed. And we had to put a new audio output transformer on this. Let's see if I can find the old one here. There was some mouse poop in this, so looked like mice had got into it, and looks like those mice ate through one of the windings of the transformer there. And of course the problem is, when I first tested it, there was no audio and no plate voltage to the 6V6 tube, so that means we had an open winding in the output transformer. And I was able to find one at Retro Electronics, and it had 6F6 written on it. And 6F6 is real close to 6V6 as far as the characteristics, so it was a real good substitute. And this is not a super powered setup by any means. It's really just like a 5-tube radio, except it has a power transformer. I think it uses maybe 165 volts on the plate of the 6V6. So it's just like a table radio chassis. And you'll see in the console, when I show you the console, it's only got a table radio size speaker in it. It's only got like a 6-inch speaker for this huge console. But at any rate, it's a pretty decent unit. It's just not got the big bass that you'd expect from a larger console radio. It's just kind of a low powered setup. But it does use a power transformer. And another thing I found, the 6X5 tube was bad. And this is one of those old types of 6X5s, I think maybe more prone to shorting, because it's got the two plates real close to one another. And I've heard of cases of these shorting out. The one I've got in here is one of my own that actually has two completely separate diodes in it. But for the client, we'll get him a brand new tube. I don't want to part with this tube here. So I think we've got one in the retro electronics stock that we can, a new one we can put in for the client. So first let's check the auxiliary input. This does have a 78 only phono in the console. We'll use the CD player here as the test source.
I like to stroll on the Costa del Sol at sunrise. And to meet Waikiki is the place to be, speaking fun-wise. I like to dine in a Florentine palazzo. You can laugh and call me fatso. That's okay by me.
So it's got a pretty decent sound for a kind of a lower powered chassis. Now we'll go to FM, or AM rather. And I've got the loop antenna from my own radio hooked up to it, so we'll just check out the AM performance here. Let's see, I'm not sure why we're getting some interference there.
And he has been reading them for years. And so when you get into an argument with Pat, you better come well prepared, because
It doesn't even make sense. It's amazing to me how my liberal brother gets away with all the stupidities.
Frank, U.S. team will play France Wednesday in the semifinal round, FIFA Women's World Cup. Pretty exciting. New York Yankees manager Joe Girardi has said that Derek Jeter will remain.
Now let's try FM.
Basically, they do and other artists follow. So my question...
So there's the Truetone radio. We're getting good performance, and I aligned it according to the rider's alignment instructions, just using a voltmeter. And I do have a new scope probe in the sweep generator. I haven't tried a sweep alignment yet, but sometime I'll try that on an FM radio. But I think this one's doing pretty good. So the next step is to get it back into the console.